My name is Daniel Crowe. I was born in Whitstable, Kent, oysters and rust. Shingle and the long slick shine of the Thames estuary, but that's a postcard from a world that no longer exists. I live in Bethnal Green now, a leaning flat with a skylight the size of a breadboard and a view of chimney pots like blunt teeth. I used to hold doors for neighbors. I used to say after you in stairwells, even when I was late. I used to carry my shopping in the crook of one arm and my umbrella in the other, playing Londoner roulette with the weather like it was a private joke between me and the clouds. Then the rain changed. If you take anything from the way I'm writing this, take this and nail it to the inside of your skull. Do not go outside when it rains. Do not let it drop touch you. Don't look up. If water glitters anywhere, turn your face away. Don't admire the weather. Don't count the drops. Don't even think the word rain when the first taps start. You think I'm being dramatic? You won't later. It began on a Tuesday, because doom likes ordinary clothes. Late March. The sky wore that skimmed milk color London uses to pretend it's harmless. I was on the 1-6, the seat by the back wheel, the one that shudders over every seam in the road, when the first fat drops landed on the window. Tap tap. A little boy in a yellow anorak giggled and pressed his palm to the glass like he could catch the weather. The driver, ordinary looking, with blue eyes, small crown tattoo on his hand, was humming something cheerful under his breath. The boy pulled his hand away and looked at the wet print on his skin like a treasure. Then everything happened at once. His body snapped as if a wire had been yanked inside him. His eyes burst red, bloodshot to the edges, pupils pinning to murderous needles. Black veins erupted under thin skin, sprinting from wrist to throat to temple like spilled ink racing downhill. His mouth stretched into an impossible grin, teeth bared, gums peeled, lips too thin as if the face had been told to show joy and misunderstood the instruction. He moved too fast, far too fast, launching down the aisle and into the driver's cubicle before sound could catch him. He clamped onto the driver's neck and tore like he knew where muscle gives and where it holds. Flesh peeled under those small hands. Teeth found the soft places. Blood sprayed the windscreen in an arc that dripped on the glass and drew red commas over oncoming headlights. The driver's humming stopped like a radio unplugged. The bus screamed around him. People stood, froze, tripped. Someone shouted Jesus Christ, like this was a thing Jesus had time to fix on a Tuesday in London. The first cold beads crawled down the interior glass, fell from the ceiling in a fine mist, drifted from the half-open rear window where someone wanted air only a minute before. The droplets landed on cheeks and eyelids and lips, and that was that. A woman in a cobalt coat went rigid, eyes redder than fireworks, veins blackening across her throat. Her grin split so wide her lip bled. She sprang at the nearest man and drove her thumbs into his eyes, laughing soundlessly as the sockets collapsed. Two teenagers, touched by the mist, let out a single hack of air and then snapped into motion, fast as thrown knives, dragging an old man across the floor by his legs until his hip came apart with a wet pop. Their teeth worked. They fed. They fed like they'd been starving all their lives, and this was the first honest meal. When water touches you, it's instant. No build, no fever, no pleading, no ritual. A drop is enough. The body revolts in a breath and becomes a weapon. I didn't scream. The body saves the screaming for when it's useless. I kicked sideways, shoulder slammed the emergency door, fell hard on the wet. Cold slid along my jaw like a hook. I rolled, found the bus steps, and punched out into the street with the rest of the living. The outside didn't help. Rain veiled Bethnal Green Road in glittering wires. People hesitated at the curb like Londoners do, weighing drizzle against dignity. Then the drops touched them, and the city filled with that grin. Eyes went red, veins blackened, backs bent and sprang. Screams rose, chopped, gurgled, ended. The first infected moved like dogs off the leash, no faster, like film with frames missing. They snatched at throats and cheeks and soft bellies. They used teeth and nails and anything heavy. They slammed heads against posts hard enough to burst them. They pulled arms from sockets and slurped the sockets like bowls. A man's face peeled back in ribbons under the hands of a woman who had been talking to her phone a moment before. A cyclist went down and 4 of them were on him before I could blink, tearing the calves first wide, the calves, like they were removing the brakes from a vehicle. I ran into a shop doorway where 3 strangers tried to become one person in a narrow space and failed. Elbows, teeth, apologies. The shopkeeper locked us inside. We watched the rain smear the glass. We watched the street become a feeding ground. We watched a woman press her body against a window with her hands up, as if praying, and then change in a strobe of red and black and grin. She punched through the pane with her bare fist and dragged the man back out through the teeth of the shattered frame. He left a ribbon of forearm skin on the splinters like a ghost glove. Nothing helps the way you think it will. Umbrellas became traps, collecting the mist and funneling it down onto cheeks. Hoods made pools that dripped into eyes when people finally looked up to see if they were safe. A boy pulled his hoodie strings tight, and the water ran along the fabric to his mouth. He smiled. He ran. He tore into his father's throat like he'd been practicing. The shopkeeper whispered Mary, Mother of God, and made a cross he didn't believe in. One of the strangers, pale skin, thumped on the back door with both fists, desperate for any route out. The shopkeeper grabbed his wrist and said, Don't, and the stranger turned and bit him. Not infected, just scared, just human trying to chew through the only thing between him and a door. The shopkeeper screamed. The stranger screamed back. We all became animals for a second, which, I know now, is the rain's true gift. It shows you what a thin film your manners were. A car tried to run the length of the street, wipers frantic, horn blaring. It hit a body and fishtailed. Something leaped and landed on the bonnet like a stone angel fallen wrong. It pounded until the glass snowed inward. It dragged the driver out through the hole and fed on the wheel, eating and turning it like a carnival game. The shopkeeper was bleeding. I pressed a tea towel to his wrist and told him to keep the pressure on. I kept my eyes on the drips forming at the edge of the window, where the seal had never been good. I could see my own reflection tremble and sharpen in each fattening bead. A pale man with a haunted mouth, jaw set like a lock. We lasted 9 minutes. The bead fell and hit the back of the pink tie's hand. His veins blackened like oil pats. His eyes went red. He showed his new teeth. The tea towel fell from the shopkeeper's wrist. The stranger grabbed him and ripped. It sounded like wet cloths tearing. The shopkeeper's scream stopped mid-note as his throat opened like a second mouth. I didn't stay. I threw the deadbolt and ran for the rear, slamming through stale cardboard and a busted chiller, lungs screaming, legs making decisions I wasn't part of, out into the alley, up the greasy iron rungs. A metal ladder sang under my weight. A hand brushed my ankle and I kicked, felt fingers peel off like half-cooked meat. The rooftop smelled of wet tar and rot. I rolled onto gravel, crawled to the far parapet, and peered down. Bethnal Green bristled with feeding. They were everywhere, fast, precise, joyous. They didn't stumble. They didn't rage. They worked. Flesh dissolved into smaller pieces. Meat came off bone. A woman in a paramedic jacket moved like a metronome, kneeling, tearing, swallowing, standing, moving on in tidy steps. A man in a builder's coat used a claw hammer with a calm rhythm, cracking skulls and dipping his hands for the brains, the way a person might scoop crisps from a bowl. One of them only minutes ago, the boy in the yellow anorak sprinted up the bus stairs and came down with something dangling from his mouth. That had been a tongue. The rain fell and the city ate itself. By evening, the banners bloomed across phones. Severe rain, advisory void, exposure. The wording would have been funny if it weren't an obituary for the present tense. Avoid exposure. As in, don't show a camera your skin. As in, don't be in a photograph. As in, don't be seen by the weather. The BBC said anomalous phenomena, with voices that wanted to be brave. Police drones came and turned graceful circles and left. Sirens threaded the rain, and then thinned to nothing. When the sky cleared after midnight, what was left of us climbed down from our high places. We became meteorologists and carpenters overnight. We taped windows into white crosses. We stuffed towels into sills. We covered mirrors and kettles and black phone screens. We learned that reflections are invitations. We learned that the rain loves an eye seen twice. We learned that slow can make you safe and fast, will get you killed at the door when the drop finds your cheek before you can. Remember that breathing is a luxury. The mosque on the corner organized volunteers in bin bag capes. They built tented paths between awnings with blue tarps and broom handles. The church drew its curtains and put kettles in the aisle for the shivering. The launderette propped open every machine to keep steam from turning the air into a glittering infection. Someone chalked dry hours on cardboard and hung them on nails like commandments. The newsagent wrote, "Tea £1 and 20 pence." Dry inside in happy letters that made people cry. We found new ways to touch that didn't include skin. We learned to pass things hand to hand by way of umbrellas, mops, cloth bundles. We developed dances in doorways in which one person stood far back and another slid a bag along the floor with their foot. We watched the sky with more attention than we had ever watched each other. It helped until it didn't. The second storm came 2 days later, Thursday. Mean as a debt collector, pale clouds, harmless face. Then a rash of needles in the air, fine enough to drift sideways and find eyelids. The tarps snapped. One fell. The volunteers moved to save it, and the rain found their wrists and cheeks and eyelashes. They turned instant, and together, a murmuration breaking apart into knives. They were fast, we were not. Nor, from the corner shop, who slipped strangers biscuits when they looked like they might have gone without breakfast, sprinted into the road with a grin that had nothing human. She took a man off his feet with one movement that would have done any rugby coach proud. She bit through his throat with a sound like an apple being torn in half. She chewed, gulped, leaped again. On Ezra Street, the florist didn't make it under her awning in time. 3 drops kissed her hairline. The grin found her mouth. She cut stems, then fingers, then a wrist. She wrapped red garlands around the man who had sheltered with her until he was blooming in a way flowers never intend. She ate the petals of him with tiny, precise bites. You want to know why we didn't fight? We did. We smashed heads with bricks. We took carving knives to toothy faces. We rammed people with trolleys. We learned that destroying the brain stops them, but learning it costs too much time and too much meat. They were already there, fast and exultant, while we were still deciding whether we were the kind of people who kill neighbors with garden tools. By Saturday, the rain was a rumor that wrote itself across boroughs faster than announcement. You could track it in screams, and in the sudden stop of screams. In the mornings, when the clouds stayed high and chalky, we cleaned. Bleach became the smell of hope. We hosed stones. We dragged bodies with tarps. The council didn't come. We became the council. We were not good at it. We stacked what we could not bury against walls, and called the stack respect. We tied scarves around our faces to make smell manageable, and called the scarves dignity. Words are the last superstitions to die. I made rules. Tape the skylight. Towel the sill. Don't boil water when the sky goes bright. Steam is treachery. Don't check your messages if you can see your face in the sleeping glass. Keep your head down when you go between awnings. Memorize the places where gutters fail. Know which scaffolds leak. Plan your route so that if you hear the first needle buzz of rain, you can reach shelter in 20 heartbeats. Do not look up. Looking up gives the sky your eyes like an offering. The rules worked until they didn't. The rain found me in my bathroom at 2 in the morning, quiet as a thief. A bead had formed on the bubble of the cheap old skylight, a quivering jewel. I'd taped it. I swear I had. Good and tight, but tape is a story about safety, not safety itself. The bead fattened, trembled, fell. It landed on tile. It didn't splash me. I let out a breath I hadn't known I was holding and moved to check the seal. The second bead fell faster. It hit my cheekbone and slid along to my mouth. Everything inside me reversed polarity. The black vein burn raced from face to throat to chest in a blink. My eyes went hot and then red, the world turning into a crisp page edged in blood. My grin rose of its own accord, lips peeling like they were answering a question they'd always wanted to get right. My heart didn't pound. It stilled, as if some older rhythm had taken it in hand and said, "Enough of that useless noise." It didn't hurt. It felt like permission. I could hear every breath in the building. I could map bodies through walls by the tiny noises lives make: a drip, a gasp, a rustle on sheets. I could smell the neighbor's pulse, hot and sweet. My hands opened and closed in little rehearsals. I was hungry in a way food had never met. You will tell yourself you can hold your face still when the bead forms and wobbles and falls, and maybe you can. But if you feel the rope slide into place around your neck, if the warmth floods the thirsty parts of you, know this: the first word won't be help. It will be at last. Your eyes will burn, your grin will twist into joy's stolen mask, and you will run faster than you've ever moved down the stairs of your life to meet your neighbors like hosts, to take what you always needed but never named. And you will not stop. You will not wash clean. You will not sleep. The rain does not pass. It stays. It spreads. It fills every street, every house, every mouth. Cities dissolve into teeth and speed. Families eat together. Nations sing in one red voice. There is no mourning, no forgiveness, no cure. Only hunger wearing your smile. I stepped outside, and the sky opened its mouth. The world followed. We are still feeding. We will never stop. And it is raining everywhere, forever.